Steelers Nation, we are officially in the month of April, which means we are now in draft month. We are just mere weeks away from the NFL draft, from figuring out who will be the next core of Pittsburgh Steelers. And now it's time for us to give you guys our fourth Pittsburgh Steelers 2024 NFL mock draft, our second post-free agency, and the needs remain the same, and so does our first pick in this mock.
You see the sign already? So with the 20th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Jackson Powers Johnson, center out of Oregon.
Yeah, you guys already know this is like at the top of our wish list.
Four straight? No, two straight now.
Two straight mocks. Our third mock this season that includes JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, as our first pick, because this is our true main guy we want, because center is the biggest need on the team. We do not have a center, and it should be the first pick of the Steelers draft, honestly. I mean, it all depends on how the cards fall, but looking at recent reports, there are teams that are dropping Jackson Powers Johnson down their draft boards because I'd imagine they don't view center as an important need, as most teams don't nowadays, which is why certain centers in the previous drafts, like Creed Humphrey, like Tyler Linderbaum, have gone later than usual. In fact, center doesn't go as high as it used to. But that doesn't mean the Steelers should just skip on center in the first round, because center is still a top need. Jackson Powers Johnson is still the best center in this draft class and is a massive no-brainer at pick 20. The guy can do it all, man. He's a 10-plus starter. He's a great pass protector. He can get to the second level. He's a beast in the run blocking. And the guy has just all the tools to be your next franchise guy, and it's about time the Steelers address the center position in the draft. So with the 20th pick, we go Jackson Powers Johnson once again in this mock. So, sorry for being repetitive, but that's just our biggest wish list. And I know that Tomlin and company didn't go to the pro day, but Pat Meyer did, and they trust Pat Meyer with great excellence, which is why they are retaining him to continue to build this still aching O-line. Mm-hmm. And they sent him over here to run drills with Jackson Powers Johnson. That wasn't the only pro day that Pat Meyer went to look at offensive line.
Yeah, we'll bring that up later in the mock, but I mean, center is the biggest need. We don't have one. It's a position that we have neglected and pretty much had fill-ins with Kendrick Green and Mason Cole. And since Cole's release, they haven't really gotten anybody to fill that center position at the moment. There's not really anybody out there.
There is no one left.
So when you're looking at who we got on the team right now, that's Nate Herbig, who has the flexibility, or more than enough flexibility to be the center, but the guy's only had 49 total snaps in his career at center.
And Tomlin has alluded to that center. In the draft, there's only a handful of plug-and-play guys that they can select to be the day one starter. Otherwise, they would have to sit behind who?
And I just don't see
center.
I just don't see the Steelers, Tomlin, and Khan dropping center so far down their draft boards.
No,
it's a
second round maybe.
But it's a huge need.
It's a massive need, and we chart that off immediately with this mock once again with Jackson Powers Johnson.
And it should be their first round pick.
Yes. Now in the second round with the 51st overall pick. So we got center, and now we go wide receiver. If I had to give you guys a prediction, this is how I think the draft is going to go down. They're going to go center. They're going to go wide receiver. It's the two biggest needs on the roster right now. And Tomlin has alluded to, again, there's only a handful of centers that they can select to be plug and play. And wide receiver is so stacked that anyone, anywhere that they select will be an immediate impact player, that they can make an immediate presence on the offense. So with the 51st pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Xavier Legette, wide receiver out of South Carolina. You guys already see the pro comparisons with this guy. And I'm going to say it here. This guy has shades of DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown, who they both came out of Ole Miss in the same draft class, and they are both incredible number ones in the NFL. They're both great wide receivers, and this guy shows the capabilities of being just like that. He is just as big of a build as DK Metcalf with A.J. Brown's ceiling and A.J. Brown playmaking ability. A faster A.J. Brown.
You cannot go wrong with either of those comparisons. I mean, to be compared to those two individuals, I mean, you absolutely have a high ceiling, a high floor, and that's what Legette can bring to the table with his size, his speed, his catching ability, especially in the deep ball, man.
It's 6'1", 221. He's a great build, and it kind of fits the Arthur Smith mold, because back in Tennessee, Arthur Smith had a guy like A.J. Brown who had a similar build. And now he's going to get a potential next A.J. Brown and Xavier Legette. It's a scheme fit. This guy is a tenacious run blocker. He's a big playmaker in the deep ball. He has phenomenal hands, yak ability. As you see here, he's a shifty guy. His route running is getting better year after year. And I understand he only had one great year of production, which was last year. His only year he got more than 30 targets. But boy, did he absolutely
explode onto the scene.
Yeah, seriously. And the Steelers are not shy of one-year production guys. Does anyone remember T.J. Watt? And look how he turned out.
What about Broderick Jones? They traded up for that guy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, how many years of production you have at the college level. It's the fact that you showcase that upside, you showcase that potential, you show it. Con and company are going to go out there and make sure that you come to the Steel City and you bring that to the team.
And Xavier Legette is one of I would put him top 10 in wide receivers this draft class. In fact, I keep seeing reports or thoughts that he might stretch up into the first round. That's how high certain draft rooms are on him. That's how high they are on a guy like Xavier Legette, because he has the utmost potential. He has the build. He has all the tangibles to be a great impact player in the NFL. And with the Pittsburgh Steelers, opposite of George Pickens, that's bully football right there.
Yep.
They can beat you in coverage. They can beat you with route running and separation. They can beat you with speed. They can beat you with the 50-50 balls. They are guys that will go up there and rip the ball from defenders. I mean, they can beat you in the run blocking. It's a bully mentality, and that's what the Steelers got to get back to on offense. Getting a guy like Legette would be a home run pick in the second round. There's a lot of guys at wide receiver they can get in the second round, but we really like Legette here. Xavier Legette is going to be a beast in the NFL, man. He really is. Now, in the third round, we got 2 third-round picks, as you guys know, with the first one with the 84th overall pick. The Pittsburgh Steelers select Mike Sanders-Till, defensive back out of Michigan. This is someone that the Steelers have shown incredible interest in. A lot of interest.
And it's not hard to see why. The guy is a carbon copy of former Steeler Mike Hilton. And ever since he left to Cincinnati, we have had nobody that could lock down the nickel corner position.
It's been a revolving door of slot corners that have been liabilities. They have made certain plays here and there in blitz packages in the run defense, but they are liabilities in coverage. They're very poor. Mike Sanders still has it all. You want him to blitz? He can do it. You want him to cover? He can do it. He's got the speed to keep up with anybody. You want him to help in the run defense? You want him to intercept the ball? He had 6 interceptions last year. He's a ball hawk at the slot corner position. He's only played the position for a couple years as well. So, I mean, that's impressive to see where he came from. A former wide receiver turned corner, which, I mean, the Steelers, you look at their history, they just adore guys like that. They've drafted guys of that breed before. And a guy like Sanders-Till coming from a school like Michigan, you saw the success he had. You saw the success Michigan had. They're going to want players. They're going to want winners like that. And this guy's going to be a playmaker on any defense in the NFL. This guy's he's going to be the next great slot corner. The next great Mike Hilton. This guy gets pro comparisons to Mike Hilton a lot, and you see why, man. Like, you want the next Mike Hilton, you draft this guy. He's going to be a phenomenal slot corner. He fits the Steelers' need. We need a slot corner, and I think the Steelers understand that. Slot corner is pretty deep, so you can get a guy anywhere, but the immense interest in Michigan, the fact that they sent the house to Michigan, they had Ike Taylor.
Uncle Ike.
The Steelers scout, Ike Taylor, yes. He was at the pro day running drills with Mike Sanders-Till. He's done that with a couple pro days, but the Steelers have shown so much eyeballs on Sanders-Till that I would be shocked if he's not a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah.
In fact, I would hate if he's not a Pittsburgh Steeler because he's going to be one of the next great defensive backs for any defense.
Yeah, you want a guy that can do it all in the slot, a guy that just brings a level of aggressiveness and intensity to the secondary. Sanders-Till is that type of guy.
Yeah. It's so quintessential to our defense that we really need a guy like him. So.
And it's just been lacking for years since, again, Hilton left.
And in the third round, that's a great sweet spot for a guy like Sanders-Till. That'd be a home run pick, and that would just fill the hole for slot corner for the long term. He's going to be a great guy to pair up with JPJ, Dante Jackson, Minka Fitzpatrick, and Deshaun Elliott. That's a hell of a secondary right there.
Yeah.
With a healthy pass rush, this defense, man, this defense is looking pretty solid. So if you get a guy like Sanders-Till, it's going to be one of those that offenses fear to go up against. It really is.
As they should.
Now, with the 98th pick we got from Philadelphia, with the 98th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Roger Rosengarten, tackle out of Washington. Now, in our last mock, we went tackle with the 98th pick as well with Blake Fisher. This time we go Rosengarten because there's a potential that Fisher could be gone, but also I think they've shown a little more interest in Rosengarten with the fact that Pat Meyer was at the Washington Pro Day, running the offensive line through drills.
Yes.
Both offensive tackles from Washington with Troy Fuatua and Roger Rosengarten.
Yeah.
So they've shown interest in those guys. And tackle, we're going to say it again, man. Tackle is one of those positions and probably the top position that they could put on the back burner if they have to, because they have a lean on in Dan Moore. None of us like it, but it just might be what the Steelers could do because they actually have a guy that can start mid-season for at least half the season. And then you could develop a guy like Rosengarten who, at Washington, he's been playing the right tackle position the last 2 years and has been protecting the blind side of Michael Phoenix.
Who's left-handed. He's a left-handed quarterback, so Rosengarten had the more responsible position at the tackle.
As you see here in pass protection, very solid in pass protection. He didn't allow a single sack in 2 years as a starting right tackle. Now, he definitely had his poor games, especially in the playoffs last year for Washington, but you see the ceiling, you see the potential, and he wouldn't be a day one starter, which means they can develop him and they can move Broderick to left tackle eventually, like Omar Khan has been alluding to, and then you put in Rosengarten when he is ready at right tackle.
Yeah.
So I think that could be the plan there for the Steelers. If they don't take offensive tackle early, they could very well take the position in the first round. We are not opposed to that at all because right tackle is still a top need. In fact, taking a right tackle would fill two positions because then you move Broderick to left and you have a right tackle.
Yep, just like that. But if there is a position, like you stated, if there's a position that they can push back into the draft because they have a fill-in in Dan Moore, but not only because of that reason, because of how stacked the tackle position is in the draft. And a guy like Rosengarten, who's kind of getting his name up there in the draft boards, he could sneak into the third round with the 98th pick for the Steelers. And Steelers got a guy that they can develop, that they can groom. And whenever Dan Moore just continues to be Dan Moore, you move Broderick back to his comfortable spot, you get Rosengarten in there, your tackles are set.
Absolutely. You got someone that came from a very successful school the last couple of years, who's been starting the position for the last 2 years, protected the blind side of a left-handed quarterback. Steelers are going to look at that in very high regard. I mean, it's one of those things where they're going to look at Rosengarten and they're going to look at him potentially late day 3 and be like, you know what, let's snag him up, let's develop him. We got our guy for the future at right tackle.
And it helps with Pat Meyer, who went to Washington to work with the offensive line and do the drills there as well, because I want to throw this out there, that Rosengarten actually has a close relationship with Steelers scout Mark Bruner.
Really?
Yes. So he's pretty close with him, so that could lean to the Steelers looking even more so towards Rosengarten's direction at him being selected by the Steelers.
Yeah. And I do like
So you see the ties there. You see the ties there with the Steelers and Rosengarten. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rosengarten were to become a Steeler, and I wouldn't hate it one bit.
And one thing that they're going to look at in great regard for Rosengarten is he was protecting the blind side in a very pass-heavy offense. Very pass-heavy. Now, the run blocking, you guys saw in the clips, the run blocking, there is some potential there. They didn't run the ball a lot because they threw a lot with Phoenix and the targets they had. They have 3 wide receivers coming out of Washington this year. That's how pass-heavy they were.
Yeah.
But, you know, you see the potential in the run blocking, but the fact they didn't allow 2 sacks the last 2 years in a pass-heavy offense is one that they're going to look and as a very attractive commodity to the Steelers offense.
Of course.
So Rosengarten at the end of the 3rd round with the 98th pick, I think that's a solid selection to fulfill offensive tackle, right tackle specifically, for the long term. Now, in the 4th round with the 119th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select one of my favorites, Renardo Green, defensive back out of Florida State. Yes, we double dip at corner because we fulfilled slot corner with Sandwich Tilt in this mock, and we still need cornerback depth. We do not have depth. We don't have cornerback depth in general. We have Dante Jackson. We have Jackson Powers, Joey Porter Jr. We have
the other JPJ.
Yeah, Darius Rush. We have Corey Trice. That is it. That is it. We have some camp bodies. We have no depth. We have nothing. So we're going to need some outside cornerback depth, but we're also going to need a guy that can sit behind Dante Jackson for a little bit, maybe the entire season, and eventually take over opposite of Joey Porter Jr., JPJ, as the left cornerback. And I really like Renardo Green because he gives me vibes of Joey Porter Jr. because he's so physical. He is great in man coverage. He's good in the run defense. I mean, look at him in this play. He's so physical in press coverage. He's a lockdown corner. He's not going to be a guy that's going to create a lot of turnovers. He's not a ball hawk by any means, but he's a phenomenal scheme fit because he is so aggressive in man coverage, which I think is what we need. We already have the ball hawks in our secondary. We have the guys that can create the turnovers. We have the pass rush that can force the turnovers. We need guys that can slow these receivers down, that can knock them off their release, that can lock these guys down in a pass-heavy league.
Yeah, and listen, getting guys in the secondary, it's not always about, who can get the most turnovers or who can be the best ball hawk on the team. It's also about, guys that can be sticky with the guys that they're going up against as far as their press coverage goes and their coverage overall, how locked down that they can be.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the NFL nowadays with how pass-heavy it is and the type of quarterbacks that they're going up against, especially in the conference, they're going to need that. Big time.
And you saw in the clip, he went up against LSU, and you obviously know they had 2 first-round wide receivers coming out of that school this year, and Brian Thomas and Malik Nabers. And he went up and did a phenomenal job against top competition. So he can go up against some of the best. And he may not even have to sit his entire rookie year. If Dante Jackson doesn't come in and doesn't have a very well performance, you have someone that has sat at least half the season that you can fulfill as that next cornerback opposite of JPJ. And then there you go. You got 2 young lockdown corners with similar skill sets and similar physicality and press coverage. And I really like Renardo Green. Another guy I like from Florida State is Jerry Jones, and those 2 were locked down the last couple of years. They were great.
They were
really good. Very strong in both skill sets. So, but Renardo Green, I really like him. The Steelers are showing a lot of interest in the Florida State Cats. I mean, they're going to look at that school because there's a lot of guys coming out of that school, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really like Renardo Green in the 4th round if we want to double dip at corner, which I think the Steelers should because we need extra cornerback depth. We need an outside cornerback depth, and we need someone to develop. Dante Jackson is not the solution. He's not the complete fix. I don't even think he's going to be here past 2024. So we're going to need someone underneath the system to pair with Rush and Trice and continue to build that young cornerback core. Mm-hmm. And it's very young. So, Renardo Green in the 4th, I really like that option.
Yeah.
Now, with the next pick, with the 178th pick in this mock, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver out of Rice. So we double dip at corner, and now we double dip at wide receiver because we do need bodies. In fact, all offseason, we've signed nothing but wide receiver 4s, 5s, depth guys, special teams people.
So when it comes to the wide receiver room, yes, we have bodies, but they're not exactly the most reliable bodies.
No.
And guys that are really going to be here long term are really going to be here for quite some time.
No. We have Van Jefferson. We have Quez Watkins. Who else do we have?
We got Marquez Callaway.
We have Calvin Austin. That's about it. We don't have phenomenal depth. We have guys that have experience in the league that have big playability, but it's not phenomenal depth. So we're going to need some extra bodies, and we're going to need someone that can play the outside receiver role, who could also work in the slot, that can be a great player on special teams to get his feet wet. That is a guy like Luke McCaffrey, who, as you guys can tell by his last name, has the NFL bloodlines.
He is the brother of 49ers Christian McCaffrey.
And we all know how much the Steelers adore the bloodlines. And this guy, man, is a former quarterback turned receiver. He's only played the position for 2 years, and you can tell in these highlights he's a big playmaker, and there's not a single catch that this guy cannot grab.
No.
This guy has stick-em for hands. He's a tough wide receiver.
See, look at that play right there. I mean, his helmet was ripped off. The guy can take a hit. The guy will lose his helmet in the process. Will take a big hit, and he will still keep a hold of the football. He'll get right back up and celebrate the fact that he caught the ball.
Yes.
Got the touchdown.
So he has...
he's got that competitive nature to him.
Yes. Obviously, tell him from the bloodlines in his last name. I mean, this guy is a playmaker. He's a highlight reel. And I think he'd be a phenomenal depth piece who could definitely have a presence on the field for sure for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Someone I really like. Someone I think the Steelers are going to look at as a project, as really good depth. And, Luke McCaffrey is just a playmaker. He can ball. And that quarterback receiver turned path that they've looked at, Steelers have looked at that in the past as well. And they've had success with that.
Yeah.
They've had great success with that in the franchise. So, yeah, got Luke McCaffrey later on in the draft if they want to double dip a receiver. I really like that option. If he could build the next couple years, he could build himself up. He could bulk up a little bit,
Absolutely.
Be a bigger receiver, be a tougher receiver, and be a great potential slot weapon down the road.
Yeah, dude, the guy's got all the potential in the world. I mean, just look at his last name alone. You know, that's going to be a big part probably of whoever's going to select him. But, I mean, you look at the tape, you look at what he did at Rice, you know, he showcases the potential he puts on the tape. I mean, the guy, you know, has the upside.
Yes, he does. So
just like everybody else that the Steelers selected. You know, Connor Hayward had the upside. You know, they select him. The guy's a baller when utilized properly. TJ Watt, you know, 1 year in production, but look at the player he is because of his upside.
Joey Porter Jr., lockdown cornerback 1.
Look at Nick Herbig. The guy's a stud as a depth guy. Could be getting a bigger role.
So, yeah, they have the blown lines and they have the last name, which is a very attractive commodity of selecting them. But you can see on the tape they can ball, and the Steelers are no stranger to that. And they've had great success with it in the past. So we do that again with Luke McCaffrey, who's going to be a great depth receiver, very good receiver later on in his career because he's only learning the position. He's only going to get better. And what I like about his tape is he's got speed to him, and his route running is pretty impressive for only playing the position for 2 years.
Yeah.
And like I said, he's going to bulk up. He's going to continue to adapt and develop as a receiver, and he could very well be a great playmaker in the slot.
And you look at already how advanced he is at the position. You bring him in to a team like the Steelers with their resume of receiver. I mean that's a match made in heaven, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So Luke McCaffrey in the 6th round, we really adore that, especially if it comes to double dipping wide receiver, which we think is very smart for the Steelers to do. Now with the last pick in this mock, the 195th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Jordan Jefferson, defensive lineman out of LSU. Now in our last mock, we went D tackle in the 2nd round with Rook Aurora. Now in this one, we go defensive lineman in the last pick of this mock because D-line I still feel like is a dark horse day 2, especially with how many picks we have in the top 100. But it's also one of those they could push back because they have looked at every aspect of defensive line anywhere in the draft from 1st round, 2nd, 3rd, and onward.
Yeah, they have.
And a guy like Jordan Jefferson, LSU has 3 defensive linemen coming out of school just this year alone.
Yeah, we got Mekhi Wingo, we got Mason Smith, and we got Jordan Jefferson. And this one, we go Jordan Jefferson here with the last pick. And the guy, I mean, he's the strongest of the bunch.
Yes.
You know, he had the most bench reps at the combine. I believe it was 34. So he's a big guy. He's a strong guy. The guy's got an aggressive, intense type of mentality to him at the line of scrimmage.
He's a gap filler. He's got great build. He's got some athleticism to him, and you see the sparks. You see the potential as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
Now, he wouldn't be an every down guy. He'd be another great rotational piece initially, but if he were to build himself, he could see himself as a primary rotational piece. Because we brought back Montravius Adams. We just signed Dean Lowry. We still got Loudermilk. We still got Liao, who I don't see him being here any much longer. So this guy could fill as very good depth, and we're going to need depth. We're
just another body, another young body at that, and a decent developmental piece for Carl Dunbar to work with, to which I believe he was actually there at LSU's Pro Day.
He was.
So that's something to keep an eye out for.
There were, I believe it was only Carl Dunbar and Andy Weidel, our assistant GM, that were at LSU's Pro Day.
Right.
So not a lot of names there, but they were clearly, they still had a presence at LSU's Pro Day as they do every year.
And that's some high presence right there. Andy Weidel for what he's done, and Carl Dunbar, he's been here for years.
Yeah.
So that's some high presence there still.
And Andy Weidel was all about building the trenches. He did that in Philly. He's doing that in Pittsburgh. You just see it.
The guy knows how to find gems wherever in the draft. Yes. And Jefferson is another one of those diamond in the roughs, you know, especially in the later rounds.
Yes. So,
just something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. So we go Jordan Jefferson at the end of this mock to fulfill defensive lineman. So with that being said, that is our 4th official Pittsburgh Steelers 2024 NFL mock draft. Let us know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below. Is there any names that we could have put in this mock that you guys would have liked? How you guys feel about this mock? Give us you guys' mocks down in the comments below. And we'll obviously be back with another mock draft very shortly, as we are now in draft month. So the mock draft's going to keep coming. They're actually going to get a little more interesting, a little more, I don't want to say crazy, but a little more, we're going to keep our minds open to anything.
Absolutely. As we should, because when it comes to the NFL draft and Omar Khan, you know,
anything's possible.
And they could go anywhere, wherever, which I'm excited about.
And they're keeping all their cards on the table because they've looked at every aspect, they've looked at every position, and depending on how the cards fall, they could go anywhere.
And they could do whatever.
Yeah. So whether that's O-line, whether that is receiver, they could go corner. Who knows, man? Who knows? Most likely O-line, but they're keeping all their options on the table. So, yeah, we're going to keep entertaining that as the mocks keep coming, as we get closer, as we inch closer and closer to the 2024 NFL Draft. So, thank you guys for watching this one. Let us know your guys' thoughts in your mocks down below. See you in the next one. Here we go, Steelers.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Peace!